The biggest race of 2022 is here as we get set for the Petronas Grand Prix in Malaysia, with Pecco Bagnaia trying to end Ducati's 15-year wait for a second MotoGP title. Nerves of steel needed in sizzling conditions. It's time to seize the moment in Sepang. It's time to race in MotoGP. .54 kilometres, this Sepang International Circuit. Pecco Bagnaia himself, the winner of the 2018 Moto2 title. Can he be the 15th world champion crowned here at this magnificent venue? Our first race here back in 1999. 15 corners, 10 right, 5 left. The all-time lap record demolished by Jorge Martin on his way to pole position yesterday with the first ever sub-158 lap we've seen. This was a key move. Turn 15, the overtaking hotspot, the big bump between Miller and Rins. Coming up next then in MotoGP, Jorge Martin is the qualifying king again as a record-breaking lap powers the Pramac Ducati star to an 8th MotoGP pole. Will Sepang end with a bang for Pecco Bagnaia and Ducati as the Italian aims for the title from 9th? Can Aleix Espargaro still be vying for a shot title victory in Valencia as the Aprilia captain heads row 4? And down but not out, reigning world champion Fabio Quartararo is up for the fight as he tries to remain on the throne from 12th. Good afternoon then, and welcome back to the Petronas Grand Prix of Malaysia. It's a warm welcome to you all around the world tuning in for the Sepang International Circuit ahead of the biggest, the most important race of the season so far in MotoGP. The main event coming up shortly. It's the big one for Pecco Bagnaia and Ducati as they try and end a 15-year wait. 2007, the 23rd of September that year, the Aussie legend Casey Stoner won Ducati's one and only MotoGP world title. Fast forward 15 years and 1 month to October the 23rd, 2022, and they have their first match point. 14 points clear is the Ducati Lenovo star ahead of reigning world champion Fabio Quartararo. Aleix Espargaro still in with a shout of a shock win for the factory Aprilia team. He's third in the standings, 27 adrift of Bagnaia, but it's been a tough weekend here in Sepang so far for the Aprilia man. It's very great to see the grandstands packed to the rafters. We've missed being in this part of the world, haven't we? Our first Malaysian Grand Prix since 2019, our 30th Malaysian Grand Prix. We first came to this wonderful country back in 1991 at Shah Alam. The atmosphere is building and the tension is building as well as this man embraces his mother there, Stefania Azzori. There is his brother as well, shortly a few months ago, Filippo Bagnaia. There is his father, Pietro Bagnaia, as well, of course. His sister, Carola, his girlfriend, Demetria Castignini. They are all here. They've all made the long trip to be at this man's side for the most important 20 laps not just of his season, not just of his career, but of his entire life. Everything that this young man has done since he first threw a leg over a motorcycle 20 years ago has been geared towards this very moment. Is it destiny? Is it written in the stars that Pecco Bagnaia today will be crowned 2022 MotoGP World Champion?
A pensive Pecco. If anything, his girlfriend Dietrich has looked much more nervous than he has this weekend. No little wink to the camera from Fabio Quartararo, who's trying to stay cool. He's kind of masking the pain he must be in at the moment, having broken the middle finger on his left hand yesterday in a crash at turn 8 in free practice for a corner that caught out all three of our chief title contenders. Quartararo, over and above his injury, has a huge mountain to climb on the grid. Qualifying did not go his way at all. A huge moment on the front end in turn 8 on his final lap of Q2 means that the reigning champion starts 12th, one row behind his main rival Bagnaia. Will Quartararo still be wearing the crown in around an hour and a half's time?
Cannot imagine what the pressure and tension is like down in pit lane. It's pretty tense in the commentary box, I can tell you, in the company of Matt Burt, Lewis Sotheby and Simon Crafar down in pit lane. There is medical director info after that crash yesterday at turn 8. A small fracture to the middle finger of the left hand for Fabio Quartararo. Will his grip on this year's MotoGP World Championship finally be relinquished? There he is then on the famous MotoGP Champions Tower. Fabio Quartararo was the world champ 12 months ago in 2021. Will he still have a chance of retaining that title when we move to Valencia in 2 weeks' time, or is all the glory going back to Bologna for the first time since 07?
Of course, 4 riders mathematically could still win the 2022 World Championship. It's likely to be a straight shootout between Pecco Bagnaia and Fabio Quartararo, but of course Aleix Espargaro comes into this penultimate race of the season with Aprilia still in the mix. He is 27 points here adrift of Pecco Bagnaia in the chase for the World Championship. It has not been a good weekend at this stage for Aleix Espargaro, but that is the scenario facing him. He must claim 3 points back or more than Pecco Bagnaia and avoid losing 12 to Fabio Quartararo to ensure that Aprilia's captain still has a chance of being crowned king of MotoGP in 2 weeks' time. Aleix Espargaro, he starts between Bagnaia and Quartararo on the grid. He lines up in 10th.
An amazing Q2 session here in Malaysia yesterday. The first sub-158 lap in history set here around this Sepang International Circuit. Jorge Martin's blistering pace, nearly half a second clear of Enea Bastianini on the front row. Heroics and more magic from Marc Marquez having come through Q1. He's back on that front row, and drama for all of our title contenders with our top qualifier of our top 3 men, Pecco Bagnaia, in 9th place. They shared 4 crashes between them last weekend. Davide Tardozzi, Ducati Lenovo team manager, looking at the moment the epitome of cool and calm, but I don't think that'll be the case in about 28 minutes time when it'll be lights out for Ducati's most significant Grand Prix since that Japanese Grand Prix at Motegi 15 years ago when Casey Stoner took the race win. Lynn Jarvis also looking relaxed. I guess the pressure not really on Yamaha. They've got nothing to lose now. That's what Fabio Quartararo said yesterday. There's only one strategy, there's only one tactic. He's got to go for it, ride his heart out, ride on the absolute limit and see where that takes him. What else can he do? You know that Fabio Quartararo, if he does lose the MotoGP World Championship here in Malaysia today, well, that young man on your screens, he is going to go down fighting.
No question about that. Of course, the front row of the grid largely away from the World Championship battle, although Enea Bastianini in second is still on the fringes of the World Championship battle, but Jorge Martin has zero interest in the title chase. He says, well, that's not really my problem. He starts from pole position, as Matt mentioned, the fastest ever 2-wheel lap of Sepang, and he took pole position by a country mile in truth yesterday. 4.5 tenths of a second clear of Enea Bastianini. There is no thoughts in Jorge Martin's mind other than going for victory.
Pecco Bagnaia then gets himself set. Gigi Dall'Igna, the Ducati Corsa general manager, That man on your picture there right now was hired, headhunted by Ducati, poached by them from Aprilia at the end of 2013 to steer them back to the glory days in MotoGP. It's taken 8 long years, at times 8 difficult years. There's been some tough periods, disasters behind the scenes is how Davide Tardozzi described the Borgo Panigale factory when Deligne took over. He has been the glue that's gelled this project together, and he stands on the very day to accomplish the mission that he was hired for. What a damn prospect as well for Gigi Deligne, and don't discount that man. And now Bastianini Lewis, we know that his great late race prowess will come to the fore in these hot conditions in Malaysia. I would not be surprised, hardly sticking my neck on the line here though, if Bastianini does not take the win here today. He's looked great all weekend. And
Bastianini, of course, is still hoping that he will be the man to end Ducati's 15-year wait for a Riders' Championship. Really, to keep his hopes alive to Valencia, he has to win this Grand Prix, really. In all probability, a 42-point deficit to Pecco Bagnaia, so he needs to gain 18 points on Pecco here this afternoon to keep his hopes alive to Valencia, which obviously needs some misfortune to befall this man in the World Championship. The pit lane is open then, and Pecco Bagnaia stepping on to his factory Ducati. The next time he steps off that bike, of course, will be on the grid, and then it will be the biggest 20 laps of his life and potentially the biggest prize in two-wheel motorsport awaiting him at the end of 20 laps of this Grand Prix.
And this will be a relief now for Pecco Bagnaia. All the distractions, all the talk about being crowned world champion here this weekend, sat on top of that motorcycle, will probably be where he's at his happiest now. He can try and block it all out, get himself in the zone. As we mentioned, he's worked his entire life to put himself in this position. He's not going to want to blow it now. He said today is all about being intelligent, being smart, but above all else, not making any mistakes. And let's not forget, Pecco Bagnaia has had his fair share of blunders so far this year. 5 DNFs have blotted his copybook. This title chase might have been over a long time ago had Pecco Bagnaia not chewed dirt on 5 occasions so far this season. The Michelin tyre allocation, of course, will get confirmation of what the teams and riders are going for in this 20-lap Malaysian Grand Prix. It does look like it will be a straightforward choice of the medium front tyre, the soft rear tyre. We pray and hope that there's no rain disruption. We don't want to see those Michelin rain tyres. We want this to be a straightforward dry race shootout, although there were some rather worrying weather forecasts for rain at some point between 2 p.m. and 3 p.m. Thankfully, at the moment, that rain has staved off. Lewis, I do believe you've got some provisional tyre information from Michelin. Is it exactly as we expected?
It is exactly as we expected. The preferred choice was expected to be the medium front, soft rear tyre, and as it stands, every single rider on the grid has left pit lane and headed to the grid on that combination. Medium front, soft rear. So in terms of tyre life, everyone is in the same boat going into this Grand Prix. Tyre conservation is likely to be a factor if this Grand Prix remains dry, of course. There is a possibility of some rain interfering in this Grand Prix, of course. Flag-to-flag rules will come into play if the rain does fall following the start of this Grand Prix. But if it is a fully dry Grand Prix, everyone in the same boat on the medium front, soft rear tyre combination from Michelin.
That's how we love it. No deviations, no left field choices. It's just all about the man twisting the throttle on the top of those machines in MotoGP as Pecco Bagnaia then comes to the grid. 14 points his advantage over Fabio Quartararo with 50 left to fight for. The start of this 4-race flyaway tour, well, it kicked off, didn't it, with another big mistake from Pecco Bagnaia when he crashed out of a lowly 9th place on the last lap in Japan. You have to say his response from that point has been superb. It has been stunning, dealing with the pressure cooker atmosphere. A 3rd in Buriram in the rain conditions, where he looked all at sea so far this season in rain conditions, and then backing it up with a 3rd place last weekend in Australia. Let's not forget, it could have been better. He led at the start of that last lap of the Australian Grand Prix. An absolute thriller, a race for the ages, wasn't it, in Australia. Marc Marquez and Alex Rins came through and cost him 9 points. Otherwise, this might be a relatively comfortable cruise to world title glory for Pecco Bagnaia.
Well, it's got all the ingredients of a potential thriller here this afternoon. course, with the three main championship contenders all out of position on the grid, they're all going to have to get their elbows out very early on in this Grand Prix. It is so crucial. Every point is crucial. But as we've already seen earlier on today, no spoilers, but in the Moto2 Grand Prix, we did see some drama in the early corners of this Grand Prix, in that midfield danger zone, which is where Bagnaia, Aleix Espargaro and Fabio Quartararo find themselves. There you can see just one row apart on the grid. Bagnaia lining up 9th, Quartararo 12th, Aleix Espargaro just out of picture between them on the grid in 10th. So above all else, for the three main title contenders who are mid-pack, so important that they get through this first lap unscathed.
Another swig of his water pre-race for Pecco Bagnaia, all about keeping yourself hydrated for 20 of the most difficult laps of the season. It's cloudy here in Malaysia, but it's still incredibly hot, incredibly humid. The most physically and mentally taxing Grand Prix of the season about to unfold here. And of course, the stakes raised even higher by the fact that it's a potential title decider as well. You can just see there in the foreground the champions Talbot. Here is your grid then for the Petronas Grand Prix of Malaysia.
And everyone on the medium front, soft rear combination from Michelin. It is Martin Bastianini and Bezzecchi and Marc Marquez on the front row of the grid from Marco Bezzecchi, Alex Rins and Luca Marini. Franco Morbidelli starts 7th, but he will have to serve a double long lap penalty in the early going for getting in Bagnaia's way in FP3. Viñales and the World Championship leader are together on row 3 ahead of Aleix Espargaro, Joan Mir and Fabio Quartararo. Brad Binder, Jack Miller and Cal Crutchlow on row 5. Miller had a big crash in qualifying 1. Fabio Di Gianantonio starts 16th ahead of the outer position Joan Zarco and Miguel Oliveira in P18. Then we have Remy Gardner in 19th. Paul Espargaro starts 20th after a 3-place grid penalty for impeding Joan Zarco with an unsafe re-entry to the track on Friday. Alex Marquez joins him on row 7, and completing your grid, Raul Fernandez, Tetsuta Nakashima and Darren Binder.
Let's quickly go down to the front row then. Simon Crafar with Repsol Marc Marquez.
We're just going to be cheeky and listening on the BT interview to hear what Marc's got to say.
I mean, honestly speaking, I don't think about it a lot, because sometimes you can understand the rhythm, but yesterday my rhythm was, if you check the paper from yesterday, the rhythm is to finish 10th or 8th. But yeah, we will try to be more in front, of course. But will be a long race, difficult, especially because I'm fighting against the bike, and when you are fighting against the bike, for one single lap is okay, but for the race distance will be more difficult, because also it's more demanding about physical side. But let's see. The track can change a lot, because after the rain we need to understand. But will be maybe the most difficult race of my comeback, because it's a really difficult circuit for my riding style. But we will try to do our best.
All the best.
That's it, guys.
Thanks to Marc Marquez then there. Just we were earwigging a conversation pre-race that he was having with Natalie Quirk from BT Sport. You heard him there say the toughest Grand Prix since he returned from that 4th major operation on that right humerus bone. He's been back since Aragon, and there's been fireworks, hasn't there? A stunning ride to 2nd place behind this man in Australia 7 days ago. Alex Rins prevailing at the end of an absolute classic Australian Grand Prix. Our 7th different race winner in 2022. The 2nd closest top 10 in Premier Class history. The 3rd closest podium in Premier Class history. More of the same, please, gents, here in Malaysia today. Now then, very shortly we will be taking a little break, because there's going to be a minutes of applause in memory and honour. A sad day for the motorsport community, the sporting community, after the sad passing of Red Bull's Dietrich Mateschitz. There'll be a 1 minute of applause coming up very shortly. We will take a short pause. So a special minute's applause celebrating the life and legacy of a motorsport lover. You can see the influence that Dietrich Mateschitz had on this paddock, the amount of Red Bull supported teams and riders here coming to take part in that special minute of applause. Of course, he started the 2007 Red Bull Rookies Cup program with now so many riders involved in MotoGP were involved in. And of course, he first got involved in MotoGP back in 1997 with the WCM Yamaha project. A man very well known to that project was our good buddy Simon Crafar. Simon, Dietrich Mateschitz played a massive role in the careers and lives of so many people on 2 and 4 wheels, and he certainly was the case with you. And I know you'd like to say a few words, Simon. Down to you.
Yeah, you're right, Matt. I mean, he changed my life. He backed a team that took me on, and I mean, it was the only reason I had a chance to come to this paddock was because he did that. And I got to realise my dream, you know, of winning in this class. And he did that, I mean, on behalf of all the people. I'm talking hundreds of sports people, maybe thousands, I don't know, but that he gave that opportunity to, you know, to realise their dreams. I wanted to say a big thank you to him from all of us.
Yeah, here, Simon. As we said, a motorsport lover, dedicated to his passion on 2 and 4 wheels, an ardent supporter of motorsport. I think he owned a basketball team over in America, football team, Red Bull, synonymous with so many sports. Of course, everybody here in this close-knit MotoGP family sends love and strength and the deepest condolences to the family of Dietrich Mateschitz. And it would be remiss of us, of course, also not to mention on the 11th anniversary of his passing here at the Sepang International Circuit. As always, when we visit this great track, our thoughts and prayers go to the Simoncelli family after Marco Simoncelli lost his life in the MotoGP race here back in 2011. Now then, we mentioned repeatedly this weekend, haven't we, about the significance, the importance, the great victory or the great race that could be coming up for the factory Ducati team and Pecco Bagnaia. Let's get some pre-race thoughts. I'm sure a pretty apprehensive team boss right now, Davide Tardozzi with Simon.
Davide, it's a big day. Please, can you give us your thoughts going into this race?
Yeah, I think that both riders in dry condition, Jack and Pecco, can fight for the podium if they have a good start. But anyway, the weather, I think that will condition it a lot, the race, if we start to rain like the forecast says. But anyway, for us it's only the first shot. Luckily we have another possibility in Valencia, so I think that Pecco is not feeling too much depression, and we'll see because it will be a difficult race.
Davide, I've been saying to anyone who will listen since FP4 that Pecco looks fantastic out there. He made some mistakes in the fast laps, but at race pace he looks wonderful. Do you feel the same?
Yeah, I feel the same. On race pace, on the dry, it was very impressive. While he make 2 mistakes while he was going very fast, but anyway, this will condition it a bit the race, because starting on the 3rd row is not the best, while you have the possibility to stay on the 1st row. But anyway, again, a good start can solve some problems, like a bad start can create one. So we'll see.
Thank you, Davide.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks to Davide Tardozzi. We saw there His Royal Highness the Sultan of Selangor soaking up the atmosphere with Dorna CEO Carmelo Espeleta. His son Carlos Espeleta there was welcoming the dignitaries back to Malaysia. So great, isn't it, to be back in this part of Southeast Asia. Now then, last weekend Alex Rins treated us to one of the best races we've seen for not just this season but for the last decade or so. The race winner in Philippine. Let's hear the thoughts of Team Suzuki X-Star boss Livio Supos with Simon.
Livio, it's going to be very difficult to knock a Ducati off the podium here today, but non-Ducati wise, your bikes seem as good as anyone that could challenge for that podium. And do you agree? Both your guys look fast, great race pace. What are your thoughts?
I totally agree. And we know, especially in quali, Ducati has some extra power that helps them to do a step. Anyway, especially Alex today is in a good position, 5th. And also John is not bad. We both were in Q2, so the bike works well. The riders, we know they are racers, so let's wait and see like last Sunday, I hope.
One last question. Like last Sunday, a few riders speaking about managing tyres, like towards the end, they think front and rear will have a drop, and we know how good your guys and your machine are at that.
Yeah, it's true, but this circuit looks to be a little bit less aggressive, so I think would be less crucial the management of the tires.
Thank you, Livio.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks to Livio Supo, thanks to Simon Crafar. Can Suzuki have one more big hurrah after their Phillip Island heroics last weekend? Do keep an eye on Alex Rins on that factory GSX-RR. We know how good he is at protecting tyre life for the end of the Grand Prix. He goes from that middle of that second row in a Muni VR46 Racing Team sandwich in between Marco Bezzecchi and Luca Marini.
300 Grand Prix starts on the board today for Aleix Espargaro, but that is the main question. Can he keep his world title hopes alive? You get the feeling he needs something special, perhaps on that first lap, to get himself as high up the field as possible. Aprilia had a rotten Friday. They salvaged it to a certain extent, getting their bikes into Q2, but as it is, Aleix Espargaro is playing catch-up on the grid. Not as much as Jan Zarco, though, as you saw on screen. Zarco went backwards off the line in Australia. He certainly needs to go forwards here this afternoon, starting from 17th.
A big ask, isn't it, to expect Zarco to be fighting for the podium here today. A double Moto2 winner here in 2015 and 2016. One of those took him to the world title back in 2016. So Pecco Bagnaia inching ever closer. The seconds tick down towards the start of this Petronas Grand Prix in Malaysia in 2022. We'll take a pause though for the Malaysian national anthem.
Tanah tumpahnya darahku, rakyat hidup bersatu dan maju. Rahmat bahagia Tuhan kurniakan, Raja kita selamat bertahta. Rahmat bahagia Tuhan kurniakan, Raja kita selamat bertahta.
What a wonderful rendition of the Malaysian national anthem then from singer Alif Sattar. Let's go quickly back down onto the grid. Massive race for the factory Aprilia team as they tried to keep themselves in championship contention, going to Valencia for our season finale in 2 weeks. Simon Crafar with their boss Paolo Bonora.
Paolo, how are you feeling, and how are your riders feeling going into this race?
Yeah, for sure, 2 races to the end. This is something that makes us very exciting. In particular, for Espargaro will be another key race. For sure, he put everything on the table and he push at 100% since the start. It's necessary to understand the life of the tire because it's a very demanding track for this. There is not such a high temperature, but for the tire and for the physical situation of the rider will be a very enjoyable race.
Paolo, thank you for your time as always, and best of luck today.
Thanks so much.
Great always to hear from Paolo Bonora. Thanks for that interview, Simon. An enjoyable race. I'm not sure it's going to be enjoyable for Aleix Espargaro. A milestone landmark Grand Prix. Congratulations to Aleix Espargaro ahead of his 300th Grand Prix start. What about the Yamaha hopes and expectations? Well, of course, they hope that Fabio Quartararo is still in the hunt for the title in Valencia next time out. Let's get some last-minute thoughts from their team boss, Maya Meregali.
Mayo, Fabio's ridden incredible all year. I can't help but feel it's slipping away, but I imagine he's going to fight tooth and nail today to keep hold of it.
He will do his best. We talked before he put his leather. As always, also here is difficult, maybe more difficult than the other races because starting from the fourth row, it won't be easy. But I'm not going to leave all the hopes, and I truly believe that he will push.
Thank you, Mayo. Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's kind of all or nothing now, isn't it, for the likes of Fabio Quartararo and Aleix Espargaro. They've got to leave it all out there, throw it all on the line. You don't want to sort of be thinking, well, what if we'd have tried this, what if we'd have gone for this? You've just got to go for it and then see if the title is still alive and there for the taking in Valencia in 2 weeks' time. I've got to say, Davide Tardozzi is doing a very good impression of somebody who's very calm and relaxed. I'm not sure inside that uniform whether he really is. The 3-minute board then goes up. We are inching closer to what could be a MotoGP World Championship decider in 2022. It's a 14-point lead for Pecco Bagnaia going into this penultimate round of the season. The math's pretty simple. If Bagnaia does win this Grand Prix and Fabio Quartararo is fourth or lower, then it is game over and we have a new world champion in 2022.
I still have the words from Davide Tardozzi ringing in my ears. Their forecast is they're expecting some rain potentially during this Grand Prix. Fingers crossed for Davide Tardozzi. We do know that Pecco Bagnaia's girlfriend Domizia has had her fingers crossed permanently this weekend. So much tension on this grid, so much is at stake, so much potentially could happen with the weather forecast. Of course, our title contenders deep on the grid. This has all the ingredients for a memorable Malaysian Grand Prix, and will it conclude with the biggest prize in two-wheel motorsport being decided?
Aleix Espargaro becomes the 6th rider in Grand Prix history to reach 300 appearances. That would have felt like a distant dream, wouldn't it, when he was a schoolboy listening to the roar of the engines in his hometown of Granollers, right next to the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. But here he is, a great moment for Aleix and for the Espargaro family. There is Fabio Quartararo then, his worst qualifying of the season. 3 no scores in the last 4 Grand Prix means it's all on now for him to retain the World Championship on the factory Yamaha. Quartararo goes from the back of that 4th row in 12th place.